Greetings. Today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of November 28, 2024. A significant number of events occurred today. Before we begin, I sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you help the channel grow. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. In the past 24 hours, there has been notable activity from Russian air defense systems on the Crimean Peninsula. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reported several waves of strikes on the peninsula, 2 waves in total, all of which were intercepted. Apparently, this raid on Crimea was completely repelled by Russian air defenses. Furthermore, today, unique footage was published from the southern part of the Odessa region. The footage shows a Ukrainian Grom-2 missile launcher. It seems Ukraine intended to use this Grom-2 system to strike the Crimean Peninsula as well. However, during reconnaissance operations, this launcher was detected by Russian drones and destroyed using the Iskander missile system. This marked a small duel between 2 ballistic missile systems, with the Russian side emerging victorious. Now let us move to the front lines. Starting with the southern Donetsk direction, adjustments have been noted on the flank of Velika Novoselivka. There are some changes to the front line near the settlement of Rivnopil. Russian units are observed along the forest belt in this area, as evidenced by objective control footage. Based on this footage, map adjustments were made in favor of the Russian Federation between the settlements of Novodorivka and Rivnopil. Previously, this territory was considered contested. Reports also indicate an expansion of control west of Rivnopil towards Storozhev and Neskuchne. It seems the Russian army decided not to storm Makarivka head-on from the south to the north. Instead, they adopted a new tactic of flanking settlements. It's possible that in the near future, settlements like Storozhev and Makarivka could fall into operational encirclement. If successful, Ukrainian forces would be forced to retreat northward. Regarding Velika Novoselivka itself, there are initial map adjustments from various cartographic services. It is now reported that 10 to 15% of the Velika Novoselivka agglomeration is under Russian control, according to certain sources. Yesterday, the map looked different. Today, it reflects these updates. Additionally, there are reports of a cleared Ukrainian stronghold in the shape of an 8, or an hourglass east of Velika Novoselivka. An interesting point is footage from the eastern part of this area, showing the use of a Russian ground drone. The footage reveals a Ukrainian stronghold with a significant number of trenches and dugouts. The Russian drone enters the farm territory and detonates from within. Such tactics allow the Russian army to clear paths toward the central part of Velika Novoselivka. Next, there is news from the settlement of Rozdolna. Russian units are attempting to flank a company-level Ukrainian stronghold located along the 0518 highway, advancing gradually from both the south and north. So far, there is no information about direct engagements at this stronghold. Preparations appear to be underway. Further intriguing updates come from the area north of Yasna Polyana. Both pro-Ukrainian and neutral cartographic services report Russian advances toward the settlements of Konstantinopilska and Razliv, moving across fields. This marks a significant offensive, possibly aimed at Uspenivka, Kurakhovo, or Velika Novoselivka. Despite its importance, this appears to be a secondary strike. The main assault might target the Yasna Polyana-Konstantinopilska axis, which was mentioned earlier in the context of the Kurakhovo battle. This advance is risky for both sides, but carries severe consequences for Ukraine if overlooked, potentially leading to dire outcomes within days. Moving on to the Uspenivka fortified area, adjustments to the front line are noted. Ukrainian forces are gradually retreating. Perhaps the most significant news is confirmation from various cartographic services that full control has been established over Yelizavetivka, Ilinka, and Romanivka. Starting from November 27th, the lines of contact have been passing through the Uspenivka fortified area, Veselyi High, and Anivka. These small villages now represent the outermost boundary where active combat is taking place. Next, we move to the Kurakhovo direction, where several updates have been received. The most significant update is the expansion of the control zone around the settlement of Dalnya, both northward toward Kurakhovo and westward toward a stronghold. Ukrainian forces are gradually trying to withdraw their units from the southern district. while Russian forces are steadily clearing the central part of Kurakhovo. This is confirmed by data from neutral cartographic services, indicating that the eastern part of central Kurakhovo has come fully under Russian control. Moving slightly north of Kurakhovo, Russian units, according to specific cartographic services, are advancing toward the railway from the east. This is corroborated by data from both pro-Ukrainian and neutral cartographic services. Next, we move toward Selidov. The offensive continues here, and it appears that Ukrainian forces have not yet managed to stabilize the front line. Almost daily, new footage and updates emerge from this area, showing Russian advances west of Selidov. Every day, another section comes under Russian control or transitions into contested territory, and November 28th is no exception. Over the past 24 hours, according to various cartographic services, Russian units have managed to take full control of the forest belt, stretching southward from Zhovtaya toward the settlement of Zarya. Additionally, some reports indicate that Zarya itself has come under full Russian control. The Russian army is also reportedly preparing to begin assault operations on the settlement of Pushkina. It seems the village will be attacked from 3 directions: from the flanks and head-on. Given its small size, it is unlikely that Ukrainian forces will be able to mount strong resistance. Regarding Zhovtaya, similar reports suggest that Russian units have already secured positions within the village. It appears that Ukrainian forces may soon retreat from this settlement toward Nova Pustinka. From Zarya, the Russian army is expected to complete combat operations for the northwestern part of Sontsevka, after which a bridgehead will be formed for an advance toward Andriivka. This area falls within the Andriivka fortified district, which contains a significant number of strongholds. As such, Russian forces may face delays here. The main objective of advancing west of Selidov is to secure several villages located in the central part of a small pocket. Capturing these villages is the initial goal of the Russian army. If they manage to solidify control over this area, Ukrainian forces will be forced to defend positions further out, along a yellow line marking the defensive perimeter. Meanwhile, Russian forces would be dispersed across multiple small villages, allowing them to launch offensives in any direction. For Ukrainian units, this would mean maintaining reserves along the entire yellow line, while Russian forces would require only a limited contingent for further advances. Next, we move toward Hryhorivka. Reports today from the northern part of Petrivka show Russian troop movements. Based on this footage, the near-complete capture of Petrivka by Russian forces has been confirmed, with only a few buildings remaining along Otradna Street. Finally, we head to the Chasiv Yar Toretsk area. Over the past 24 hours, the map has not changed significantly, and active combat continues. It seems that operations in this direction are either paused or undergoing regrouping, possibly due to the arrival of new leadership in the southern military grouping. A reorganization of the direction appears to be underway, and no major offensives should be expected in the immediate future. Kupiansk direction will begin with southern Kupiansk. Regarding the settlement of Torska, there is significant discrepancy among sources, with various cartographic services depicting entirely different scenarios. Pro-Russian sources suggest that Russian forces have managed to secure 70 to 80% of Torska. Objective control footage shows strikes on Ukrainian equipment in the area, including the destruction of a Ukrainian tank using a fiber-optic guided drone. Based on this footage, many cartographic services have updated their maps. Regarding the northern Kupiansk direction, reports from the settlement of Zeleny High indicate a possible breakthrough by Russian forces toward the settlement. This information was initially speculative, but has since been reflected in updates from several cartographic services, marking the area in favor of Russian forces. For now, the area remains contested. Russian forces may be advancing westward after taking Pervomaiskaya Kopanka, with movement reported from Vishnev toward Borisivka. If successful, this advance could lead to the creation of another pocket encircling Ukrainian units between Bohuslavka, Zarizove, Novokruliakivka, and Lozova. The main goal of Russian forces in this area seems to be to block Ukrainian groupings around Borova, align the front line, and establish an expanded bridgehead along the Oskil River. If successful, a large number of settlements could come under Russian control, creating logistical advantages. From this bridgehead, Russian forces would decide whether to advance southward or northward. As for Kupiansk itself, cartographic services have started marking northern Kupiansk in favor of Ukrainian forces. This is likely due to a series of successful Ukrainian counterattacks, as reported on Telegram and other online platforms. However, there is no objective control footage to confirm these claims. Pro-Russian sources present a different perspective, stating that Russian forces had to withdraw from the high-rise area near the Encircled stadium. However, they reportedly flanked this area and are now advancing toward the M26 highway and the Zaoskolia district. According to these sources, the front line in this area is taking on a peculiar shape. The high-rise area around the Encircled stadium remains under Ukrainian control, while the industrial zone east of Kupiansk is fully controlled by Russian forces. Objective control footage for this situation is lacking, and additional visual evidence would help clarify the situation. Pro-Ukrainian cartographic services have noted Russian advancements on the Ukrainian side of the Oskil River for 2 consecutive days, but the purpose of this offensive remains unclear. It is possible that something significant may occur in this area soon. Kursk direction. A considerable amount of information has emerged here as well. Over the past 24 hours, Russian forces attempted to expand their control zone, advancing along the line of Mykolaiivka, Darina, Sverdlikov, and further toward Darina again, Sverdlikov, Zeleny Shliak, and Nizhny Klin. These areas witnessed the most intense fighting. A large amount of footage has been published showing FPV drone strikes, including the destruction of Ukrainian equipment such as German Marders, Bradleys, and Strykers. The exact number of Strykers destroyed remains unclear. Additionally, footage depicts Russian assaults and Ukrainian artillery strikes on advancing Russian units. Based on this footage, cartographic updates reflect Russian advancements south of Zeleny Shliak towards Sverdlikova. The ongoing combat indicates that Russian forces intend to push Ukrainian forces out of Sverdlikov entirely, potentially signaling the beginning of battles for Sudzha itself.